Gunfight. Part 3. Clive focused on the two protuberances, both pieces of jagged bone, to him obviously from a skull due to the curvature afforded them. They were embedded into his upper forehead. The part showing must have been cleaned while he was unconscious. Both protruded about 2 inches out from his forehead. He was looking with his one eye. He noticed that his second eye seemed to be regaining some functioning. The doctor shook his head. "Clive, I know it looks bad. Problem is Clive. Don't know how far both of those pieces go into your brain. We try to pull them out. Shit, could be really bad. Sight gone, hearing, maybe even die. For me, I say let them heal up. The bones of your head will eventually cement them in. Once they got a firm build-up, then maybe we could at least grind them off." Clive was in such crippling pain that he only wanted respite from the throbbing in his leg and also his chest and head. He pointed toward the bar. Daryl, as if reading his mind, went and brought back a bottle of whiskey and a shot glass. He immediately poured the glass full, and while the doctor and others tried to hold him up, Clive managed to get it down. He motioned for more. After about 5 shots, he waved his hand as if enough. He was utterly devoid of any energy or volition. He could feel it, an oncoming, hazy world. He was going to fade out. He heard the doctor instruct them to bring down a bed and put him up in the back area of the saloon, where it was somewhat secluded and quiet. The idea of carrying him up the steps to a room at this point seemed futile and even hazardous. Clive was soon laying on a mattress. In a few minutes, he drifted off. He stayed that way a while. On awakening, he realized he could talk better, but the pain was still epic. He was immediately supplied with some food, which Mabel in a loving way fed him. After this, he collapsed back into a slumber. This went on for 3 days. After 3 days, he was able to move around and could even sit on the edge of the bed. The pain was still there, but had subsided. His face now, a quilt of scabs and red holes. The 2 almost Matterhorn-like protuberances were still there. Clive, on closer examination, realized the doctor was right. From the jagged shape of both, it seemed evident that both were likely deeply buried in his brain. It was on this day that the strange events began to manifest themselves. It was sounds. They seemed to be as if coming directly from his head. He did now, with great caution once in a while, reach up to touch the jutting protuberances while holding the mirror, which was now by his bedside. They seemed to be deeply embedded, not moving to the touch. They were horrific to look at. 2 jagged pinnacles of a whitish, obvious bone-like extension, like some kind of horns. He could only console himself with the knowledge that later they could be cut off or somehow ground down. But the other part, the sounds. These were a mystery to Clive. It was ambiances he had never heard before. Bizarre oral landscapes. Then it was voices, men, women, and more. It was composed of scattered flights of verbal wisps. Most made no sense, devoid of all connection. Most had a somewhat harrowing aspect. Clive tried to figure out what was causing these voices and sound sets. After 3 days, with them growing in frequency, he realized. Every time there was airflow from the front door opening, or someone walking by, the auditory emanations would arise, finally concluding. It was from any acoustical vibratory actuation. By now, he was able to somewhat move around and decided to rent one of the rooms in the saloon. He still needed care, especially with eating, as he had no way of performing any culinary duties. In the room, with the window and door closed, it seemed that the aural events died down. As the days went by, Clive continued to be racked with pain. The scabs on his face were itching terribly, as well as his leg wound, which was finally healing. He sought solace in whiskey. Jerry would regularly come up and check on him, bringing prepared food and his now nightly indulgence into the reveries provided by the alcohol. Clive was grateful for Jerry's limited help and endured his oftentimes annoying babble. One night, early on, he imbibed. Clive passed out. In the interim, Jerry had come in with food and seized with curiosity, having heard Clive recount to him how the prongs, as he now called them, seemed to evoke strange sounds. Jerry saw Clive was deeply asleep, and he wanted to experience what Clive was talking about. He very quietly moved a chair close to the bed and gently grabbed both prongs with his thumb and forefinger with each hand. He kept them there for a while. Jerry heard things. After about 10 minutes, he let go. Jerry soon was a transformed man. His mind was now filled with a metric of thought that he had never even contemplated. He had heard things. His life had been delineated for him. His affliction of half-wittedness had been explained. Not only that, but the solution to his eventual transmutation to mental wholeness had been given. He bounded down the steps to the nearly empty bar below to share his discovery with Daryl and Mabel, who sat at a table drinking coffee. Both saw Jerry was possibly in one of his greatest excitable states of all time, which was saying something due to his naturally excitable nature. He dragged a chair over and began an excited rendition of the message he had received from the horns, as the protuberances were now often referred to. There was a new intellectual dimension to his diatribe, leaving both Mabel and Daryl perplexed at the information he was reiterating. Eyes wide, he began. With the reiteration of the story, he was reliving the experience. He described, on first grasping the horns, he heard nothing. But then, it was sounds. Heavy sounds, like boulders crashing down a hill, landslides, and eventually, a mystical voice. Earth. Earth. It repeated it twice. Then, the voice rose over the sounds of the strange music and began its message. Jerry, I am Earth. I am first. I am the body. On this measure, Jerry, you received full compliment. Jerry again declaring the sounds and music were like none he had ever heard. Next, he grabbed Mabel's hand. It was water. Oh, Mabel, the sounds, I heard water sounds that were none like I had ever heard. He detailed how the voice told him this was the second primary element after Earth. He turned to Daryl. They be 4 primary elements, and second one is water. You know what water is? It's emotion, it's pleasure. The voice told me. I got more of this than was supposed to, but at the end I got more to say on this. He again turned to Mabel. Guess what the third element is? Mabel shook her head, somewhat bemused, but also kind of shocked at the reiteration. Jerry smiled. It's air, Mabel. Pure-ass air. And you know what air is. He didn't let them answer. It's intellect. It's what makes us smart. It's also communication. He shook his head. See, the voice told me somehow I got cheated on this. This, the reason, I can't think like the rest. Daryl and Mabel were looking at one another, now beyond bemused. This was a topic that surpassed anything they could conceive of. Both baffled at Jerry waxing on about ideas and conveyances they had never heard before. He was not done. He tapped the table. Last one, guess what? It's fire. It's willpower and being aware of yourself. He went on explaining how on exposure to each of these 4 primary elements, he was immediately awash in sounds and strange music that was associated with them. During this diatribe, there was no stopping Jerry. He was as if manic. They could only listen. After this exquisite retelling, rich with detailed explanations and descriptions of the 4 forces and the attendant sound sets, he got a very determined look on his face. Done learned what happened to me. Both shook their heads, motioning for him to continue. He leaned in, as if informing them of a great cosmic secret. It's the water. It done stole half my mind, my intellect. You see, air gave me more to make up for it. That's why I learned I am so happy. It made up for half of my mind that's still there, hidden in the water. Doing this, Jerry was able to relive the monologue, explaining the verbal transmission he had been visited with. Jerry, the primary forces, The pillars of the world, the metric by which all is defined, have left you marooned. Your mind was divided. Yes. The division of your entitled resources were pillaged. It was the water, Jerry. It wanted more of you, to cover its theft from air. That which bequeaths intellect, it provided you with excess emotion and the capacity for pleasure. Jerry, the water, has secreted your stolen ability to think and communicate. Jerry did his best to relay this. Both Mabel and Daryl were actually astounded at his newfound ability in describing things that, to even them, were a total mystery. Jerry went on explaining how the other half of his mind was out there, now being jealously clutched by water. He told them he knew how to get the rest of his mind. He would have to wrench it back from the force that held it. Water. With that, he got up, and with a sense of purpose both of them had never seen, declared he was going to retrieve what had been stolen from him.